Do you have books that have been sitting on your shelves because you're too intimidated to read them? Do you love listening to other people tell you which books intimidate them? I am both. I have both. And today we're going to be talking about which books on my personal bookshelves intimidate me the most and why. Hi, friends. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Sasha. We have a lot of books to talk about. I didn't realize how many books I am intimidated by until I decided I want to do this video. I've seen it popping up again. It is a trend that comes back from time to time on Book Talk, and it is coming back around. What is that? What is that song? She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. Yeehaw! Okay, so these books are coming around the mountain because they look like mountains. Some of them. They are very big. And I feel like that is a lot of the books I see listed in people's most intimidating books are big chunky boys. Big thickums. Thickums. Thick bookums. Thick. This is my third video of the day. I haven't filmed any videos since I had surgery, so all of my energy that's been in here is being released into the world. Are you prepared? I'm going slap happy, and it's too early for me to be doing that. Anyway, some of these books, I feel like it's going to be super obvious. Of course, that would be intimidating. Others, I feel like you're gonna look at me a little sideways and be like, "Really?" But listen, this is me and my truth, okay? So in the comments below, make sure you let me know if any of these are also on your intimidating book lists, or if they're not, what is on your list, because I'll be sure to avoid those books at all costs. I'm joking, because I do want to actually get through a lot of these books if I had more time. If I was a full book content creator 24/7, that's all that I did, that's how I made all my money, this would potentially be a reading challenge for me, where I would just try and get all of these books that I'm about to show you read this year or next month. That could never happen, but like, you know what I'm saying? If this was my full-time job and I got fully paid for it, I would make this a challenge for myself personally, because I am so sick of these books sitting on my shelf, just like giving me the side eye, like, Linda, when are you gonna read us? I don't know. I don't know. The first ones we're going to talk about, not necessarily the books specifically I'm intimidated by, a little bit more of the author, because he is prolific. He writes so many words, and the series just never end. There are spin-offs. There are so many. I'm going to let you guess in the comments before I show you who it is. I currently only own 2 of his books, and they're the first in each of their respective series. It's Brandon Sanderson. Did you guess correctly? So I have The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, and I have Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Heard nothing but great things about Mistborn. Everyone sort of raves about this version. I don't know that this is right, but this feels like it's been talked about more as like the young adult version of his like epic fantasies, and then this hunker is the adult-ish version of it, a little more George R. Martin-esque in terms of Game of Thrones-like and things like that. Definitely thick. It's almost, is it as big as my head? No, you can still see my head. Okay, it's big though, right? If you put them together, I disappear. So, a little intimidated by how big it is. I have started it before and gotten a few chapters in and then just never continued. I've never tried this one. I think it's also intimidating because I know that these are the first in a series. And when I read a series, I like to just read all of them at once. If I try and pick it up later, I'm not going to remember. So that's the other intimidating thing. It's like once I start these, I'm in it to win it. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm going to have to get all the other books, whether from my library, ebooks, whatever I need to do. Maybe ebooks would be better, because then I wouldn't see how long they are. I would just have the percentage sitting at like 1% for 2 days, and I'd get really pissed off. Because even though I'm reading like hours at a time, if it's such a long book like this, your percentage barely moves. Anyway, y'all know the struggle. Let's move on. Brandon Sanderson is the first author I'm intimidated by. Coming up next is a very well-renowned book, and I have a couple of those on this list. That's something else I'm intimidated by, not just prolific authors everyone loves, but like books that have won awards, books that are either cult classics or just literature classics, okay? So we have The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I was more or less bullied into getting this book when I worked at a bookstore during COVID. This was the favorite book of a few of my coworkers that worked there at the time, and we had all of Donna Tartt's books in stock at all times because of that. So I was like, you know what? I'm interested. She's hyped this up enough that I feel like this is going to be incredible. Whether I actually relate to the characters or enjoy the story or not, I feel like the writing is just going to be so good. A soaring masterpiece and a triumph. Like, amazing, incredible. It's a little thick, it is, but it's a good flop. Like, this is the best kind of floppy paperback you can get. So it has bonus points for being a good flop. However, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. Like, that's a little intimidating. Also, please don't judge my nails. I have to figure out how to do them better. That's really all I have to say about that. Anyway, Donna Tartt is on this list for sure. Here's a book, or two books, I feel like y'all are gonna be like, bitch, just read them. Like, what are you doing? It's a poetry collection. I really only dabbled into poetry when I was made to do so in college in order to get my bachelor's degree in English literature. And for some reason, we never read from this author in college. And it's, I'm going to say her name wrong, Rupi K. I don't want to butcher it. And I have both of her collections, The Sun and Her Flowers, Milk and Honey. She has more collections than this by now. At the time, these may have been the only ones that were out. I really enjoy poetry. I love dissecting poetry. I love finding double entendres. I love finding multiple meanings for things. I just love it. I feel like the closest I've come to diving into poetry right now has been the Drake and Kendrick back and forth rap battle diss history, whatever is going on, with all of Kendrick's like 9 meanings to one verse. He's insane. I love him so much. Anyway, so poetry collection, I'm a little intimidated to read it, and I can't really put my finger on why. Like, I'm gonna fly through these. I could read this, probably both of these in one sitting, and instead they just sit on my shelf unread. One day I will read it. Maybe we can read them together and that will help me do it, because if I make it part of a project, I'm more likely to commit. Do I have commitment issues? I don't know. Anyway, let's see what's next. Another one I'm fully expecting to get a little crucified for, that I've never read it, but now, not now, I've had this edition on these shelves for many a year. And I love this edition. I was waiting to read this book until I could get this edition. It's Little Women, okay? And it's the little tiny, adorable, super pretty, gorgeous, again, as big as my face. Wait, there we go. She's thick. She's real big, but tiny pages. And I could just see myself, honestly, going to the Grand Floridian for the day, sitting down with this book, and just the ambiance, just having the best freaking time, and also probably crying, because I do know that a beloved character dies, but that is all I know. I don't remember who it is, I don't remember how it happens, I just know that that's like a very big deal, and it's a life-altering moment for many people when they read this book. I'm intimidated by how big it is. I'm intimidated by it not only being classic literature, but at this point, since like the movie came out and everything, I feel like it's also a bit of a cult classic. I don't know. I'm just, what if I start reading it and I can't get through it? What if I don't like it? But what if I do? But what if I read it and it becomes my entire personality? What if I fall in love with the story and these characters and I'm depressed for like months after I read it? What if it puts me in a reading slump? Do you see why it's so hard? Like, it's so big because it holds all my anxiety, okay? I don't know how to start this book, but I do think it would be the most beautiful little vlog to take this to one of the Disney resorts. I really think the Grand Floridian is the one we would have to go to. Do you not agree? You do. I know you do. I could hear you from here. So that's probably something we're going to do once I am more recovered from my surgery. I don't necessarily know if this is something I want to read this year. Maybe you should let me know in the comments. I keep hitting my mic. I'm so sorry. Maybe you should let me know in the comments if this is something I have to do this year. And I will rearrange my schedule and make it happen. Okay? In the same vein of classics, we have Jane Austen's 4 novels. I have read Pride and Prejudice. This also has Sense and Sensibility, Emma, and Persuasion. I love these Barnes and Noble, like, what are these called? Collect anthologies? Is that the right word? I don't know. I love these big Barnes and Noble books that are only like $8, okay? I don't know that they still are that price because I definitely got this when I was I got this when I was a assistant librarian, because one of the groups I was proposing as part of my job was that I was going to have a group where we read all of the Jane Austen novels together and then watched the corresponding movies, and it was going to be a discussion on like how the movie compared to the books. And I thought that would be such a fun group. And then I ended up leaving the library system and going into the elementary school system, and we didn't end up doing it. But I bought this for that purpose, so I would have my own copy. I loved Pride and Prejudice. I don't know if I like the book or the movie more. I think I have a pretty decent imagination. However, the movie is so stunning. It's a cinematic masterpiece. Just the fields, the sun glares, the little grays of the fingers and the wrists, and just the movie is so good. I had never seen the alternate ending until I was in college, and I sobbed for the whole rest of the day. So I definitely would love to read more of Jane Austen's work because I'm clearly a fan of at least one of them. But especially in this collection and just as classics inherently, intimidated, a little worried about slogging through it, to be totally honest. Sometimes the language and the verbiage, it takes me a full like 5 chapters to get back into whilst and thou and all the, beautiful flowing language. Same type of book as the last one, another 798er from Barnes & Noble, another classic. This one I've tried to read. This one, I don't remember how far I got, maybe like 200, 300 pages in. I just remember it being so depressing the entire time, which is apt because the title's Les Miserables! Les Miserables! Yeah, I don't know if I said it right the first time. I probably didn't. Sad book. I've seen the movie. I have not ever seen the musical, but I would love to. I would probably just cry the whole time. Very depressing, and it was very hard to get through when it doesn't get happier. And I know for a fact it doesn't get happier. Even like the ending isn't necessarily happy. It's just an ending. So I honestly don't know that I'll ever read this, but I don't ever want to get rid of it because I just love owning it. This is one of those things where it's like, this is part of my collection, and that's all it needs to be. I did try reading it once. Maybe I'll pick it up again in the future. I feel like my life has to be going really, really well for me to be able to read this and not be really depressed. And especially like current world events, I feel like this is a skip. Like, I just have to go on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and be depressed about things going on everywhere in the world. So I don't need a book to make me more depressed. Another big chunky boy that I have, I'm pretty sure I finished this book twice. or I almost finished it twice. That's the thing, like I read most of this book one time and then I took a few months off. And then I went back and I started it again. And I can't remember how far I got the second time. So I don't know if I've ever finished this. I feel like I have. It's The Rune of Kings by Jenn Lyons. This is an epic fantasy story. I have the first two books. There are so many books in this series. I would love to collect them all because the covers stunning. One of them's an octopus. I really want that book. Again, this is a collecting versus reading debate. I want that book, but I would love to read them and understand. Yeah, I don't really remember why I just couldn't get as into this as I wanted to. I was also trying to read this during the panini when I was very depressed from having just gotten laid off from my dream job. So that was clouding my vision. I didn't finish a book for like 2 years after I got laid off. I was having some brain troubles, and then I got chronically ill, and then it was like I just flat out couldn't read anymore because I couldn't understand words, couldn't remember words. It was a hard time. But we're here, we're back. So potentially I would like to try this one again and see if it's just maybe not for me. Then that's fine. Then let's trade it in for something else because it's a chunker. I've tried to read it twice and I don't this should be for me. It's got dragons, it's got a male main character who we're following through all of this. It's got some kick-ass women characters. Like I don't know. And I really want the one that looks it's got an octopus on the cover. So we should try this one again. But I can't remember why it didn't work the first two times. And that makes me more intimidated. Because it's like if it was great, I would have just kept reading it and read all the ones that have already come out since the last time. So, yeah, I don't know. Interesting. This one's interesting. We are down to the last two books on my list. This is not going to be intimidating for any of the reasons the other ones are intimidating. Similar vein to Les Mis, this is also a musical. Put in your guesses now. And that is actually why I'm intimidated to read this because love the musical. I've seen the musical once and I don't want to read these and not like the book or the story or how it's written and then have that taint my experience of loving the musical. It's Wicked and Son of a Witch. And I actually, fun fact, both of these books were donated to the library I was working at. Part of my job was to sort through donations. And as part of my job, if I liked anything that was donated, I was allowed to keep it. And so were all the other staff. I obviously just got first dibs because I was the one sorting it every day. So when these came through, they didn't come on the same day either. So like someone donated this, and I took them both. It's so beautiful. It's got the gold foiled edge. It's amazing. And another, like, this is part of my collection and not necessarily like something I might read. I would like to read it though to see if I'm going to like it as much as I actually enjoy the musical. Because the story just feels like it's going to be something I enjoy, you know? I already like the musical. I don't know. Those are my intimidated books that I'm intimidated of. Maybe they're intimidated of me too, because I just threw them on my bed and didn't treat them very well and haven't picked them up pretty much since I bought them. So maybe it's a mutual intimidation and we should remedy that. Let me know if you have any of these same books on your most intimidated list. Let me know any tips you have for getting through books that intimidate you because I'm probably going to need those. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. See you later. Goodbye.